Eagles Entertainment.
The journey to the draft is driven by AAA. AAA, roadside is their strong side. Make AAA a part of your game day today. AAA, go ahead.
With the 25th pick in the NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select.
You're listening to the Journey to the Draft podcast, driven by AAA.
Welcome to the Journey to the Draft podcast, driven by AAA. I'm your host, Fran Duffy. We've got a fun show here as we're going to kind of put a ribbon on all of our coverage here from Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. It's been a lot of fun covering all the action here from Ladd-Peebles Stadium, from the University of South Alabama. It's been a lot of fun covering both the South team, led by Justin Herbert, the North team, led by quarterback Jordan Love. It's going to be fun previewing this matchup on Saturday. Chris McPherson are going to do that, and I are going to be able to do that here on this show. At the top, we're going to go through Draft Buzz, where C-Mac and I, we're going to hand out our practice awards. We did this last week for the Shrine Bowl in St. Petersburg. C-Mac and I are going to each pick out our practice player of the week at each position, hand out some of those awards to close out the week of practice. After that, in pick 6, C-Mac and I are going to preview 6 matchups. We're going to pick some position groups. How are they going to fare taking on the other side? We've seen the South receivers against the South corners, the North O-line versus the North D-line. Now, these guys are going to put on the pads, they're going to go live contact, and they're going to go against each other. So which position groups are we most excited to see in Saturday's game? We'll hit on that in pick 6. After that, we've got our unofficial visit with Florida defensive end Jonathan Greenard. He's made some flash plays here this week on the practice field. And then after that, we've got a couple questions in our draft mailbag. But at first, before we get to the top of the show, again, best way to support this program is to go on to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher. Leave us a rating. Leave us a comment. We've got some great ones over the last few days. Really appreciate those that have gone on and done exactly that. Again, we'll get to a couple of those questions on the back end of the show. But let's get things started. It's time for Draft Buzz.
Now it's time for Draft Buzz.
All right, C-Mac. So yesterday we did the mock draft of the Senior Bowl players, which is always a fun exercise, as we talked about yesterday. But today, we're going to do the same preview for the game that we did last week for the Shrine Bowl, where you and I kind of hand out our practice player of the week awards for each position. That comes out. The Senior Bowl releases their official list typically on Friday as well. You and I are going to give out who our practice players of the week were in this segment. And for quarterback, you and I were both in agreement.
What fun is this?
Justin Herbert.
Jeez.
Yeah, Justin Herbert. To me, like, Jordan Love, I thought, had a good week too.
Good week, yeah.
Justin Herbert,
the two of them are,
yes,
to me, clearly of the other four. Definitely.
As long as things check out off the field with both guys, like, they're top 15, top 10 talents. Like, wouldn't shock me if both guys went in that area.
Yeah, Herbert looks the part, has the size.
He throws it so well.
That's the big thing. Throws it so well. Throws it to anticipation. Spread around well this week. Jordan Love has a lot of the same traits, but basically, I remember the first day of practice on Tuesday, you had just looked at me and said, Herbert's like the best player here, and it's not even close.
Just like you were just watching him, like it just everything looks so easy for him out there. I think Justin Herbert, practice player of the week at quarterback. All right, let's go to running back. We split here.
Yeah, we did.
Go with your option first.
Josh Kelly.
I think a good week.
UCLA, good week, explosive with his cuts, caught the ball well out of the backfield. Did a real good job catching the ball out of the backfield. Yeah. Made consistently, was good with his vision. I thought just stood out a little bit more. It's really about who's catching my eye.
Right.
Consistently, day in, day out. And I felt like, especially the last couple of days, Josh Kelly, was the guy who I decided to select.
I had Darius Anderson for the same kind of reasons. I think if it not for inaccurate throws from the quarterback position, I think it would have been Antonio Gibson, because he had a couple deep ball shots that were just underthrown and fell incomplete. If those complete, those are on Twitter. Those are going viral. Everyone's talking about Antonio Gibson, but since they didn't, I look at Darius Anderson, ran some really crisp routes and one-on-one drills as a receiver, did a really good job in blocking one-on-one drills, had a couple nice runs as well out of the backfield. So I went with Darius Anderson, the running back out of TCU.
Like Antonio Gibson, by the way, too.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Gibson had a good week. And Benjamin had some nice plays as well. So the running backs good week overall this week down in Mobile, and it's tough for running backs to shine in these practice sessions. All right, let's go to wide receiver. We had some options here. I went with KJ Hill because I just think like really good technician. Really has a good idea of what he's doing to set defenders up mid route. One off the line of scrimmage quickly, more often than not. At the catch point was really good. We saw the one-handed catch on Thursday in the indoor facility. I just look at KJ Hill, and from start to finish this week, I thought he was the most impressive receiver here.
I wrote his name down and then crossed it out because I feel like Hill is the better receiver, but if I'm looking at the guy who probably did the most this week to help his stock, Denzel Mims out of Baylor, especially came on strong the last 2 days of practice with the highlight reel big-time plays. So liked Hill a lot. Love what he brings to the table. I love how you explain how he sets up receivers. There was one rep I was watching on film where he's working out of the slot, KJ Hill, and he runs an out route, and the defensive back had leverage, but Hill still found a way to cross his face to be able to create separation and get open and make himself available for the catch. I mean, even though the defensive back was setting himself up to be able to defend that exact route. So
those Ohio State receivers have been really well coached over the last few years.
Yeah, like it a lot. I would just give a slight edge to Mims just based on the explosive plays he produced this week.
All right, let's go to the tight end position. You and I in agreement here. And I actually was a little surprised that you went with Harrison Bryant. I thought you might go with Stephon Sullivan, the tight end from LSU, but we both went Harrison Bryant.
Sullivan is more I'm intrigued by the size, the athleticism, and the traits he's going to bring.
Yeah.
I want to see more of that moving forward. Brian just seemed to catch everything that was thrown his way this week. So that gave me the slight edge there to give it to Bryant over Stephon Sullivan.
And he did a great job as a route runner throughout the week, too. But he wasn't the only one. I thought that Bryson Hopkins from Purdue had a really good week. Adam Troutman from Dayton
He's
had a
created some
really
buzz.
good week. Sullivan, we mentioned, had some really nice moments as well. So this tight end group, overall, really good week of practice here in Mobile. Let's go offensive line. This was tough. A couple of guys really stood out. I really, really was close to giving it to Ben Barch, a guy that we talked about a lot yesterday on the show. I ended up going with Matt Hennessy, though. A guy.
Oh, jeez.
I know. I went Matt Hennessy because
Temple tough.
he was the only. Look, Jason Strobridge through the first 2 days of practice was probably the flashiest defensive lineman, and the only guy that could stop him was Matt Hennessy. Like, he was the only guy who stopped him, and so I can't get that out of my mind.
Strobridge said toughest player he went against was Hennessy.
I don't. It doesn't shock me.
Give it to someone who was, I thought, just as outstanding along the interior of the offensive line, just a little more consistent in my estimation. There was one of the days where it was one-on-ones, it was just rep after rep after rep where it was like winning, and Lloyd Cushenberry from LSU. So while I didn't give it to his teammate Sullivan for the tight ends, I give it to Cushenberry here.
Yeah, he had a good week. There are a few offensive linemen. Hakeem Adeniji we could have gone with here.
Liked him a lot this
I think some
week.
people would vote for him. We talked about Ben Barch could have definitely gotten this award. Other guys certainly had their moments. But no, I think that we picked two of the best.
Probably
for sure.
I would probably say this may have been the toughest one.
This is a tough one to go with.
This was the toughest position, I would say.
Yeah, there were a lot of options we could have gone with. Edge defenders, so those defensive ends, outside linebackers, guys getting after the quarterback. I mentioned him earlier. Jason Strobridge, to me, flash from
good.
Start to finish here this week. Run game, pass game. He's deflecting passes. He's getting sacks. He's winning in pass rush drills. He's really stout in the run game. Jason Strobridge was really, really good out of North Carolina.
Strobridge, very good, and could easily give it to him. I went Bradley Anae out of Utah.
Yep.
Good job setting the edge. Was loved watching him set up offensive tackles with the long arm and able to push him back, and then to be able to use that to set up his other move. He told me he loves using the chop move.
That's his
as
favorite.
Well,
Yep.
That's his baby right there. He said he loves using that. He said scouts and teams told him that they wanted to see him set the edge against the run. They know that he can rush the passer. Can he be a good edge defender? And I thought he proved that this week here. So I'll give Anae my practice player of the week award for the D-line.
Interior
or edge, I should say edge. 'Cause I wasn't sure when I first went down the list. I was like, oh, is it just edge? Is it the entire defensive line. So
well, we went D line. We split them up, and for D tackle, we both agreed. Javon Kinlaw, he didn't participate in Thursday's practice, but did enough on Tuesday and Wednesday to win the award in our eyes.
Yeah, you just watch him pushing guys back, using that leverage, those long levers that he has. 6'7", such a unique build for an interior tackle there. But he came into the week, with arguably the highest draft stock of all the non-quarterbacks in attendance.
Yep.
And I think he's going to leave with that same
I think that's fair.
bill.
Yeah,
So.
I think that's fair. He's a guy that has a very versatile skill set, and Kinlaw had a really good week of practice here. All right, let's go to linebacker. We split on this one.
Yep.
I went with Malik Harrison from Ohio State. Had a nice interception in team periods today in the indoor. Big kid, come downhill, had some nice plays in 9-on-7 drills this week as well. Excited just to kind of go back and continue to watch more and get a really good sense of his athleticism. But I thought in practice made some plays, and he's an instinctive coverage player.
You talked about Evan Weaver. In the preview pod coming into the week, someone who was very productive at California. Just watching him in the team drills. Very instinctive, knows where to fill the hole, physical, good run defender. There were a couple times where I was like, oh, who's the guy making the play? Because he wore it 98.
That's where he wore it, Cal.
It's such a weird.
He began his career as a defensive end. He started his career as a DN for them, and then made the move to line. The new staff came in, and he said, look, put me a middle linebacker. I can play middle linebacker. And that's
interesting.
As a junior, he played at over 250 at the inside as a middle linebacker, and it didn't look pretty. He was still really productive, but he just didn't look pretty.
He's a unique build.
He cut a bunch of weight. He looks better now.
He has a unique build. You look at him, you don't think linebacker. So,
right.
But really liked what I saw from him. It's just one of those times where you're jotting down notes and you keep writing that number 98, and maybe because it's such an odd number for a linebacker that it just catches your attention that much more. But I thought Weaver had a good week of practice.
For corner, you and I both agreed, and we talked about him yesterday on the show. Troy Pride helped himself as one. If I would think most of the list, if you asked most people, scouts, media, fans, who helped themselves most here in Mobile this week, Troy Pride's going to be one of those names that pops up pretty consistently. I thought he had a really good week of practice.
If he's not number one, mentioned Ben Barch probably is right there. It helped their stock the most, but easily top three, I would have to say, of players
really
helped themselves the most here this week. So, Pride for me. For cornerback, this was an easy call for me.
Yeah, and then we go safety. We both, it was a surprise. There were some options here. I almost went Alohi Gilman from Notre Dame.
I would have said through the first practice plus.
Yep.
He was my guy because I wrote him down, but he got injured early in Wednesday's practice, so he was on track. He definitely had flashed for me. So.
I almost went with the Saluki, Jeremy Chin from Southern Illinois. Made some plays as well. Kayvon Wallace had some nice interceptions. You
liked him a lot coming in, yep.
We both went with Kyle Duger.
Yeah, it was partially because he was the small school guy who everyone said, this guy belongs.
Lenore Ryan.
And sure enough, Hickory, North Carolina.
For
Lenore Ryan.
We got to tap into our inner Les Bowens to tap into that.
Indeed, but stepped up, flashed good range, has the size, looks the part, flew around the field.
One of the winners of the weigh-ins on Tuesday morning.
I just thought, again, going back to Ben Barch, he looks like he belongs. That's the biggest thing you can say about him. So definitely helped his stock and showed that he's not just some small school guy who just beat up on terrible competition. He's a guy who can definitely play at the next level.
All right, well let's continue putting a ribbon on our coverage here. This was fun, kind of seeing this, what we thought about how the players performed in practice. Now let's talk about Saturday's game here in our Pick Six.
Now it's time for Pick Six.
Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on NFL Network. You can check out the Senior Bowl from here, Lad People Stadium in Mobile, Alabama. CMAC, we're going to preview 6 matchups that we're excited to watch in this game. I mentioned it earlier. We've seen the South going against the South all week long. We've seen the North squad go against the North squad. Now it's time for North versus South. I let you go first. I let you pick which matchup because I did this last week and I got the first pick. So I let you go first here. What were your thoughts? What matchup are you most excited to see?
So I want to see these North receivers. Okay, we're talking about Antonio Pittman. We're talking about Michael Pittman, Antonio Gandy Golden here, James Prochet, Denzel Mims. So we're talking about the North. nice quartet right there.
We haven't talked enough about James Prochet. He had a really good week of practice, I thought.
He had a good week.
Yeah.
You can see what he does.
Very solid player.
Yeah, definitely can see the skill set that he has for the next level. So nice, crafty route runner. But going against these South corners, we're talking about Dane Jackson from Pittsburgh, Darnay Holmes from UCLA. Jackson is physical, grabby. I thought Tuesday had, there was times Tuesday where I said, oh, who's this kid? We're going to be watching him throughout the course of the week. Thought it maybe tailed off a little bit, but Darnay Holmes also, quality prospect coming into the week. They can really help their cause here, going up and finishing strong against this quality group of the receivers. So I went with the North receivers against the South defensive backs.
I love that because I love the little matchups in there too, like Darnay Holmes versus James Prochet in the slot.
Yep,
that's gonna be really fun. And then Dane Jackson mixing it up with those bigger receivers, Gandy Golden and Pittman, Mims. That's gonna be a fun to watch for sure on Saturday. All right, I went into the trenches. I love trench play.
Yep.
South defensive line. So we're talking Terrell Lewis, who was one of my favorite players coming into the game. Jonathan Greenard and Jabari Zuniga, both guys from Florida, the two Florida defensive ends. Robert Windsor from Penn State, I would throw in there as well. It's been solid every day of practice. I'd throw those four guys against this North offensive line, which go across the board. These are good players, C-Mac. I mean, Matt Hennessy, my player of the week on the offensive line. Nick Harris from Washington, the center, very talented player. Josh Jones, the left tackle from Houston. Justin Herron has played guard, but a former left tackle for Wake Forest. Hakeem Adeniji from Kansas. It's a good group there for the North O-line. That group against the South defensive line, to me, is going to be really impressive. That North O-line might be the best position group down here. Might be.
Ooh. I need to grab my full roster to kind of break that down.
Because we're going to cover some of the other ones that I think are going to make it a challenge.
I think the biggest thing when I was trying to find a good trench matchup was I was trying to get too nitty-gritty where I was like, oh, let me get the interior line versus the D tackles.
Right.
And that matchup wasn't maybe as stellar. And then if you do like the edge rushers against the tackles, I think you did a good job though compiling the lines here together to create a nice formidable matchup. So,
well, what was your second one?
I go with, and you were mad at me after I took this one.
It's a good one.
South running backs. We're talking Antonio Gibson. We're talking Eno Benjamin. Going against the North linebackers, Francis Bernard, Malik Harrison. Talked about Harrison a short time ago, the week that he had down here. Antonio Gibson, the size that he has, the movement skills. You talk about the route running.
Would it shock you if he won MVP in this game?
Ooh, no, not at all.
Right, like he could be a big play guy.
Yeah.
Kick return touchdown, long receiving touchdown.
Didn't you say something? What was it, like 17 yards per touch?
He averaged over 15. He averaged over 18 yards per catch and over 11 yards per rush or something like that. It was he's been a big play guy for sure.
Eno Benjamin, you talked a lot this week about the flash he brings. So trying to showcase here, he could be a 3-down back in the league. Showed some good bursts coming around the edge on the perimeter. So definitely like to see the matchup. Like see if these linebackers, especially with Gibson, if they can slow him down.
Francis Bernard, Malik Harrison, everyone knows they can play the run. How can they play in space? Gibson, Benjamin, they're going to put that to the test. That's going to be a really good matchup. I agree. I stayed in the trenches for my second one. I went the opposite side, though. North D-line. I think to me, I would say, all right, this might be the other really good group.
Yeah.
Neville Gallimore, Jason Strobridge, those guys have been really good. Neville Gallimore on Thursday. We didn't talk about this yesterday. From the on the inside, from the indoor facility, they did the the O-line D-line one-on-ones. He had a devastating bull rush. I think it was on Josh Jones, if I remember right. They moved Josh Jones a little bit into guard.
You did mention,
Man, like you just saw that power from Neville Gallimore, that explosive first step. That was like an ooh play, like the whole everyone around there, it was an audible reaction from everybody in the crowd. Neville Gallimore, Jason Strobridge has been so good. Laurel Murchison from NC State has been disruptive. Kenny Willekes is a guy. He's another guy. Would not shock me if he had like 2.5 sacks in this game. He's that high effort motor player that's just going to win with technique and effort off the edge. Willekes, in that group. Bradley Anai is in that group from the North. So that North D line against the South offensive line. Ben Barch, Lloyd Cushenberry, Alex Taylor, Terrence Steele's had a pretty good week. Logan Stenberg from Kentucky has had a pretty good week. That's a good match. That actually might be my favorite. Now that the more we talk about it, that might be my favorite matchup in this game.
Yeah, the trench play is going to be tremendous.
Yeah, it's going to be really good.
Very, very good in this game. So again, it goes back again. The interior offensive lineman, very strong in this contest. I know it's not. That's the thing is it's hard to sell because it's not the sexy position. Everyone wants to know about the quarterbacks, and I'm going to transition to my final matchup here. Let's see some of these South quarterbacks. We haven't talked much about Jalen Hurts.
No, that's a good point.
Not really talked much about him this week. The big thing is in the game situation here, is he someone who's going to step up to the moment and shine? To be able to really stick his cause as someone who, hopefully should be. He wants to be in that conversation with the top quarterbacks in this draft. He's someone who has had a very decorated college career. He's saying, why not me?
Yeah.
He's saying, look, I took 2 college programs to the playoffs, okay? I deserve to be in the competition. But his teammate, Justin Herbert, has been, we've said it earlier, the best quarterback here in Mobile this week, looks the part. But one of the guys who's improved his stock the most this week, you're looking at the defensive backs on the north side, Troy Pride, okay? Lamar Jackson. So
a lot of buzz about him all week.
Yeah, tall, physical. It's going to be someone that's going to be to see if they're able to pick him apart there. Troy Pride, can he carry over his strong week into the game against these top tier quarterbacks? So Jalen Hurts, super productive, outstanding college career. Can he put a bow on it with a tremendous performance here and try to create some momentum going into the combine later on or next month, I should say.
So I'm going to go same side of the ball, South tight ends. Harrison Bryant, John Mackey Award winner, top tight end in college football. Stephon Sullivan, LSU, has made plays every day this week. Jared Pinkney, someone that a lot of people thought was a top 50 pick coming into the season out of Vanderbilt. Those 3 guys going up against these North safeties who have really flashed in coverage. It doesn't seem like we'll see a Loie Gilman. We're not positive on that, but with the injury this week on Wednesday, not sure if he'll be able to go. But Jeremy Chin from Southern Illinois, I talked about earlier, has made some plays in coverage. Josh Metellus from Michigan, Kaliki Hudson from Michigan, Jalen Elliott from Notre Dame. He's also made some plays. He's long, he's physical. So watching those guys match up against the South tight ends, just a little bit of an interesting matchup. I think that might be an advantage for the South team.
Yeah, so a lot of good matchups here.
Who wins this game, C-Mac?
Ooh, let's see.
I stumped you.
Yeah,
it's
funny. It's just funny that you're like, oh, who's gonna go here? Let's see, because obviously you got to factor in the quarterback's not going to play the whole time here. Off the top, I'm gonna go with the North team. Those receivers, okay, I think are just gonna be tough because you could just keep bringing them on over and over again. So I'm gonna go the North
team. I'm gonna go North team as well for a different reason.
Okay.
The trenches, I think, are better for the North on both sides. I think when you look at the O-line and D-line on both sides, I'd give the edge to the North squad. So we both like the North. I need a prediction, offensive and defensive MVP from this game. We both picked the North, so I'm assuming we both got to pick North players. Who gets the offensive MVP and the defensive MVP in this game?
Let's see. I gotta go pull up the full roster here.
I'm going to tell you right now, my defensive MVP is going to be Mr. Neville. No, I'm going Kenny Wilkes. I made the prediction earlier. He's going to go 2.5 sacks. Kenny Wilkes has a big game. High effort guy. He's going to be chasing down the South quarterbacks. I'm going to go Kenny Wilkes as my defensive MVP. And then offensively, I'm going to go with Michael Pittman Jr. This feels like a Michael Pittman Jr. kind of game. I'll go with it. If that's what you feel, let's go with it.
That's where I was going. I was going to go Pittman for the North there. Let's see. See if we mix up with someone defensively here. See if someone from the South will step up here defensively. Let's see as we're going along here, just checking out the names here. We go back to the line of scrimmage. He's one of the guys who's been consistent throughout the course of practice this week. I believe he was your practice player of the week here. How about Jason Strobridge, North Carolina?
Yeah, I like it. This is a guy that was really, really good throughout the course of the week of practice. You know what I started getting some flashes of was Cam Jordan, what he did out of Cal.
Wow.
I don't think he's the player that Cam Jordan was, but Jordan was dominant down here. Okay. Strobridge has been really, really good all week in practice. So that'll do it. They're really impressed with a lot of these players. Excited for this matchup on Saturday. Again, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NFL Network. All right, let's get to our unofficial visit here, a player that we talked about a little bit earlier in the show. We talked about him throughout the course of the week. Jonathan Greenard, the defensive end, the edge rusher out of the University of Florida. He joined Chris McPherson today for our unofficial visit.
The unofficial visit.
Jonathan, what did the year of transferring to Florida teach you about yourself?
It taught everything. As soon as I basically got down there, I understood, what I had to accomplish. I definitely missed an entire year. I wanted to basically impose my will on this next season. Coming to the SEC was going to be a huge challenge for me. I thought me doing that is just going to show that I could play at the next level, in myself and to the scouts as well. So it was everything. It was a smooth transition. I had no issues at all.
What did the year away from football, dealing with the wrist injury, teach you about yourself?
Oh, man, to value everything. I took a lot of things for granted, just even practice, locker rooms, just everyday interactions, everything made you look at it, life on a whole different outlook. So to get that opportunity to play the game again and at the highest level within the SEC and having a coach that believes in me that I can do that, when I didn't believe in my own self, it was just everything for me. So
why didn't you believe in yourself?
I just had doubts. With me playing defensive line and injuring my wrist, it's an easy way for me to even think that I couldn't get back to the way I was. But once I got back out there and got my mojo back, it was really good, and I had no issues at all.
What did you do behind the scenes during a time that you weren't able to play?
Basically just stay prayed up. I had really got closer to God. I had got really close to my family. My mother, she was always praying for me, so we just always kept talking. Understanding that it's going to come. It's a delay, not a deny. So once I actually believed that, it was everything.
What was it about Florida that made you want to transfer there?
Basically, I knew the defensive coordinator. He recruited me out of high school in Todd Grantham. So pretty much I was going to a familiar system in my final year. I didn't have to have a learning curve, was not hard at all. So to go there and just play fast right away in my final year was going to be good for me.
So what did it mean for you to have the success you did, tallying the sacks, tackles for a loss, in a new environment, after a year that you said yourself that you kind of doubted yourself?
Right. It's huge. I still didn't believe in when I was still in the games. Now to see it out after the season, everything I've done, it's like, wow, I actually did that in this top conference. It was great for me, and I know that now it's only beginning for me. Even I still I had missed opportunities out there as well. I can still just capitalize on it at the next level.
Do you think it's made you a better, not just player going through this, but a better person?
Yes, definitely made me a better man, understanding a better person, a better Christian overall, just to actually truly believe in myself and never have any doubts, and just go to all to God and just continue to go with it.
Now, looking forward to this week here. Practices haven't started yet, but what are you looking forward to showing to the teams as you're down here in Mobile?
That I can play at the highest level, which is already pretty much showed in the SEC. Two, I can finish my pass rushes and actually be consistent with it, and also finishing the run game and cleaning things up as far as technique-wise. So anything they want to see, I'm going to clean it up for them.
Who was the toughest guy you went against this past season?
Oh, man. I would probably say probably Georgia's O-lineman, Andrew Thomas. So it was pretty good. He was a guy who was, very, very smooth, very smart. Didn't really do anything out of his element. Stayed within himself and made the game hard for me. So I had a really good dig into my bag of tricks for him.
What are you gonna miss most about the college game?
Man, Gator Nation. Gator Nation is gonna be, man. That was. When we played Auburn there, that was the loudest game I've ever been a part of. So to actually be a part of something like that, a historic moment, it was great. It was great.
Jonathan, best of luck down the road. Hey, appreciate the time very much, Jonathan.
All right, C-Mac, what are your thoughts there on Jonathan Greenard? You talked to him on Tuesday at Media Day.
Yes. So the big thing with him was he had the wrist injury that kept him out of the 2018 season. Came back, talked about transferring to Florida, why he transferred to Florida. But just very impressive, was team captain. And the big thing with an athlete, when you could be dominant and tower over your competition your whole life, but then if you have a setback, in his case it was the injury, a little bit of doubt might start to creep in. How do you handle that adversity? And he was able to come back and be a better player. He said than he was before, but he admitted that there were some times when he was like, am I gonna be the same player that I was? And you may think a wrist injury, guy, we've seen Brandon Brooks with the Achilles and Carson Wentz with his injuries and stuff like that. Guys come back and play better than ever, but it's just interesting going into the mind of someone who's at the top, top of the world, all the way through. And these are still young guys. These guys are 20, 21, 22 years old, most cases. If it's the first time they've dealt with some adversity, it's interesting to see how they handle it, what's their support system, and how do they come out on the other end. And, it really shows if you're going to be able to trust these guys, and that's really a big part of the process here. It's not just how they are on the field, but off the field. Can you trust these guys to go to battle with you when times get tough. And you look at how the Eagles turned things around in 2019 and the last month of the season. If you don't have guys, the leaders, the guys like Brandon Graham, who always had optimism even after the toughest losses, saying that things are going to get turned around. If you don't have guys that really can believe that and push through that, you're not going to be able to have those kinds of turnarounds.
Yeah, the scouts, I'll tell you, the scouts love resiliency and seeing those guys battle through those kind of situations. All right, great stuff there from Jonathan Greenard. Really happy that we were able to join him and so many other players throughout the course of this week down here in the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. All right, let's get to the last part of the show. It's time for our draft mailbag.
Now it's time to hear from you, the fans, in the draft mailbag.
All right, so like I said earlier in the show, the best way to support this program is go on to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher. Leave us a rating, leave us a comment. It helps boost us up the rankings for people to go and find this podcast. And I wanted to give a shout out to someone who did that, and that's Richard S. in Charleston, South Carolina, a longtime listener, left a 5-star review. Excited to hear our thoughts from the Senior Bowl. And the question is this from Richard. What is the Senior Bowl experience like for the fan? Thinking of getting some buddies to head down with me next year. And so
Awesome.
Here's what I'll say to Richard. They have done an outstanding job over the last couple of years of making it to more of a fan experience. They've opened it up for fans. You can come in to practice for free. There's great access with players that are here. They do all kinds of events throughout the course of the week. I know on Friday today, they're doing all kinds of stuff throughout the city in Mobile, Alabama. The game is fun. The practices are fun. Everywhere you look, there's NFL personnel. There's college coaches everywhere.
There's tailgating. There's tailgating going on in the parking lots before the game. It's awesome.
If you're a football fan, coming to the Senior Bowl is like a really cool trip. No matter where you live, who you root for, it's a really fun trip. And I think Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Senior Bowl, has done such a great job. And you talked about the tailgating, like. The food scene down here is a lot of fun, and we've been on the road now together, the three of us, and one of our producers as well, Ray Doyle, for the last 2 weeks. So I want to take this opportunity for the fans. If you want to come down here to Mobile, Alabama, you got to experience the options, the fare, and I want to do almost like a mini pick six here. The 6 places that we have enjoyed most with our palates over the last couple of weeks. So we've eaten that. And we're going to go really quickly because I don't think people necessarily always care. But
if you're listening this late into the podcast, I think you're along for the ride.
So we're going to bring in our producer, Peter Kelly, who is also one of the producers for the Feeding the Birds podcast with head chef Tim Lopez.
I'll see. Now you're making me think that I need to bring all this food knowledge.
Oh, you're bringing the food knowledge. You're bringing the food knowledge.
I am I'm very particular with my food knowledge, but yeah, I have some specific tastes, and there's some good restaurants.
We hit those tastes over the last couple of weeks, both here and in St. Petersburg, Florida, for the Shrine Bowl last week. Number one meal for everybody here.
So we're going either Shrine Bowl week,
either Shrine or
Tampa,
Senior Bowl,
or Senior. Okay,
yeah, either one.
Okay,
go ahead, C-Mac.
I'm going with a place in Tampa.
Whoa!
Right by Tropicana Field,
okay. Dr. Barbecue.
Yeah.
Shrine Bowl's a really fun experience too, by the way.
Very good experience. So it was actually kind of funny. We went to another restaurant in the area. It's like a newly built up section just outside Tropicana Field. And we were going to a sandwich place that was on Food Network. But we pulled up there. It was like cash only. We didn't have cash. We're like, we're not going to be able to go here. So we had to call an audible. And we said, well, what about that Dr. Barbecue place? Because we saw the signs for it.
Yep.
And as soon as you open, well, first you go up to the front door, and they got a brown paper poster, and it has
it's like the side of a cardboard box that they just unfolded and pasted up on the door.
And this is the meat they have today, and
awesome.
when they run out, they run out.
It was very old school.
Yes.
We have what we have, and as soon as it's gone, we're done.
Yeah, so the stuff's fresh. You open the door, and you just smell the flavors, the texture, the smokiness. It was absolute heaven walking in there. And then you sit down to the meal, and there's a lot of great barbecue places between here and in Tampa and Mobile. And the first appetizer, this may have been one of the tiebreakers here, was a smoked pineapple.
The smoked pineapple
appetizer. So they throw a whole pineapple into a smoker, chop it in half, carve it up. I've grilled pineapple before.
I've grilled pineapple many times, yeah.
but never had the smoky taste.
That was the difference.
And was the drizzle they had?
It was
on
like a
honey?
rum
Well, that's the
glaze.
thing. It was the rum drizzle, the rum
Oh, that's
glaze.
right, it
So
was
they
rum, yeah.
they put it in the smoker and then they cut it open, throw the rum glaze on top, and then throw it back on the grill after. Give it a little bit of char.
Yeah.
That was big
that
time.
was pretty dank.
That was
So
that was
good.
big time. I don't know what that means, but that was pretty good.
West Coast thing.
Okay.
It's good. It means
Was that
it
number
good.
one for you?
No, my number one was Felix's.
So Felix's Fish Camp is a go-to place here in Mobile, Alabama.
Yes.
That was my number one as well, PK.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll let you take
No,
over.
to me, like Felix's is a must go to. So if you're coming down here, Richard, and going back to the question here, if you're coming down here, you absolutely have to go to Felix's Fish Camp. It's right on the bay, so you got it's fresh seafood. Pastas are always good. They've got steak, they've got chicken. But the fresh seafood, we all got the same exact entree. We got some oysters as well, but we got the same entree. It was the best piece of fish I've ever had in my life. It was
incredible.
remarkable.
Perfectly cooked.
There was the red fish, right? The red
Yeah.
snapper.
Red
it was
fish.
like
Red
wonderfully
fish.
fried without being greasy.
Yeah, lightly fried.
I love me some fish and chips, but
Right.
like
Oh, this
about
was way
halfway
better.
through, I'm
Yes.
always like,
Yeah.
this is too much. But that was just awesome.
It was outstanding. There were the hush puppies on the side that you and I both enjoyed as well. To me, Felix's that held number one for me. Dr. Barbecue was actually number 3 for me.
What?
It was also my number 3.
But
Yeah.
number 2 was
it
what we
Meat
had on
Boss?
Thursday, Meat Boss, man. So we asked around to some of the locals and said, all right, what's the the best barbecue? Because I've been coming down here. This was my 8th Senior Bowl. I've had most of the barbecue places. I've had scouts and people give me recommendations. We went to Dreamland Barbecue. That's on our list. We went to Moe's Barbecue. We've gone to Saucy Q's in the past. We've gone to a couple of these places. The Brick Pit was a favorite before that closed a few years back. We heard from a couple locals this week, you have to go to the Meat Boss. And it was a little bit of a drive. It was like 25, 30 minutes outside town. We pull up. We open the door to the car. As soon as we stepped outside, you talk about that smell when we opened the door at Dr.
Yeah.
Barbecue. That smell hit me in the face as soon as I opened the
it
car
was like
door.
that woody hickory smell. Oh
It
my
was,
gosh.
and it was remarkable. And again, the three of us all got the same thing. We all got the same thing. And all three
So
of-
glad we did though.
Oh,
Like,
it was-
made the right call for sure.
we all got the pulled brisket, and it was on a sweet roll. So you could pick the meat, you pick the roll, you pick the sauce, and then you've got your sides. It was phenomenal.
By the way, you throw on some rib candy.
we had the
that they
rib
made.
candy at the end.
Oh
It
my
was a
gosh.
caramelized rib meat that was
Yeah.
like diced up and in a little cup. That was big time. That was an outstanding meal.
I did get the banana pudding, which was sensational. Look, I had Dr. Barbecue, Felix, and Meat Boss
And
as
that
my
three- that
top
was the
and my
trio.
top 3, and it's one of those AP poll all would have received first place
Right.
votes. It was all very close.
So for me, after that, PK, you did not join us for this meal. You had some travel trouble coming
Yes.
into Mobile. But C-Mac and I had the Noble South, a nice little restaurant here downtown, right around the corner from the Player Hotel here in Mobile. Noble South was very, very good. You and I actually... both got the same meal. We both got the pork chop over wild rice, which was really, really good.
wrong with us?
Yeah,
we spent a lot of time together over the last
That's
couple of
many
weeks.
things.
We'll all be together in Indianapolis as well, so we'll be enjoying
Oh, my
everything
Lord.
from the Midwest. But we had the same meal. Noble South was very, very good. Nice little homey local place. Was really, really good.
My only beef with Noble South, okay, didn't make my top 6.
Oh, I know why.
Because they have a special meatless Monday menu, and they had an appetizer with sweet potato fries that looked really good, and they had a special dessert. And I asked for those things alone, and they were like,
You gotta get the whole thing."
You gotta get the whole thing." And the dinner I didn't want the dinner part of it, and it just soured the taste buds a little bit from that. I was kind of like, I'm like, come on, like throw a few extra bucks on there.
sorry.
Just yeah.
We hit up a local sandwich shop in St. Pete as well, the Bodega on Central, right around the corner from the stadium as well. We got some Cuban sandwiches.
That was actually technically my number 4, but it was actually the juice bar attached to the bodega.
That
combined
was for you
it.
too.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that somehow made kale not taste like spicy lettuce
Right.
and threw it into like this awesome smoothie.
So I think that this shows the difference between you two and me. You guys went into the juice bar next door for your little side. I went for the extra fried plantains.
Oh yeah, right, yes, yeah.
So
Also a good call.
Also
Yes.
outstanding.
Really good. Yeah, for sure.
No, it was a really fun couple weeks, guys. It was and for everybody, like I said at the top of the segment, if you're a fan of football, you want to come down here to the Senior Bowl. It's a really fun experience. Make sure you come check out everything Mobile's got to offer. Practices are fun. The access with players is fun. You get to come and join us too.
Great little
Maybe we'll
city.
do if more fans come down. Maybe we'll do some meetups here.
We
meet
will
up with some
definitely do
fans.
meetups next year.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. All right, well, that'll do it this week, really this week on the Journey to the Draft podcast, driven by AAA. We'll be back next week. We'll be back in studio at the NovaCare Complex. We'll catch up. Ben Fennell will be back with us, C-Mac, and we'll kind of pick up the pieces here. The Senior Bowl's over. Now we're going to move forward and start talking about these underclassmen. That list came out this week. We'll start looking at that. Mock drafts are all over the place. Daniel Jeremiah put out his first one. Mel Kiper's big board. Daniel Jeremiah's top 50. We've got a lot to cover. We'll hit it all starting next week right here on the Journey to the Draft podcast, driven by AAA.